we go.
Great. Oh, don't do that.
All right, so here I am. My name is Eric Moore, but most of you know me as Happy Computer Guy, and I'm here with Leah Bonser. Thank you so much for joining me today. You and I have been talking quite a bit on, and let me just make sure that we are actually properly live. We should be. We've been talking quite a bit on the Autogen Discord about different cognitive architectures, models, things like that, and having a blast. So decided to do a live stream and show off some of the things that we've been doing. So yeah, thank you. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So hi, Leah, obviously. I'm pretty new at AI, but I've been designing like complex software for a long time. And so the Autogen really appealed because it allows you to put together really interesting constructs and using the LLMs as a component in architecture, rather than trying to compete with OpenAI to like fine tune a model, which I think is a mug scheme. So I'll do the interesting stuff I can do and leave Sam Altman to building giant models.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So where we started a lot was around synchronous versus asynchronous execution. So I was going to show everyone what that is, right, in terms of agentic systems. So let me share my screen. Okay, there we go. You should see this come up. Great. All right. So this is Autogen Studio. And this is a limited version of Autogen, the full framework, which is an open source project from Microsoft that Leah and I work with. And also, before I get started, all opinions are my own and not those of my employer. So, this is a place where you can pull in different skills. You can specify different agents. You can see I'm using GPT-4 0125 preview. Build agents with those models and with those skills, and then build workflows that include multi-agent chat. So they can go multiple rounds and the agents can execute codes. This is obviously not for you, Leah. This is for everyone else watching the stream who has no context on what the heck we're talking about here, right? And the way this works, if I go to the playground here, right, and create a new set of agents, please tell me the current time, right? What's going to happen in the back end is that they're going to go back and forth and execute code, probably date time, something like that, on the command line to get this, and then once they've completed their chat, I'll get the result. So what's happening is that the chat is running synchronously with each agent sending their message, that message immediately being responded to. Yeah, and this is experimental chat, so it's a little broken at the moment, but you can see this whole chat occurred, right, to Consult Archives, who's obviously not the right person here to be doing that, but it did write my code. And then Consult Archives tried to send the code to Image Describer. Like I said, it's an experimental chat who doesn't have an execution environment, but you get the idea, right? This all happened, and I didn't get a result until it was done. So that's a synchronous chat, right? We got to wait for chat until we get a terminate or an exit or similar, and Chat Manager decides to pop this out, right? What Radman, who is another person we chat with on our server, did was write this Autogen Labs Autogen GUI chat. So this is an asynchronous interface. So I was trying to get this working for my animation stuff and just failing pretty miserably, right? Because it's quite complex, but he did get it working. So let me show you what that looks like versus what we were just looking at. And that's relevant to the nested chats and the cognitive architectures, etc. Because what he's done is, let's see, fire up panel here. It's a whole thing. goes. Okay, open it up in our browser. You'll notice immediately this is a very different interface than what we were just looking at. Okay, so I'll say, hello, please tell me time. This is also another broken chat. I've just got broken chats all over the place because I'm messing with features instead of actually making stuff work correctly. So we'll see what happens here. Oh, look, see, there we go. Now whether or not, oh, there we go, great. So there's how it's supposed to work. The difference here is that each and every individual message you're seeing printed to the Streamlit interface, right? Because he's hooked the calls asynchronously here. So the other thing he's done, which I really love, is you're seeing the total usage statistics here accruing as they chat, right? So how many completion tokens, how many prompt tokens, total tokens, and those are for the whole chat. So I spent 2.5 cents running that little interaction. So that's something really neat that I don't think a lot of people have seen, right, inside of that interface. Now, what's funny is if I go back in, okay, and try to now append anything, I think it's not going to work, and that's for a very interesting reason. Hello, please check. Again, has no idea how much time has passed. If we go back into Autogen, right, it's not going to accept another call, basically, because it's not registering the necessity for another human reply. As far as it's concerned, it's completed its task and the chat is terminated. So any further human reply to an asynchronous chat, it doesn't handle properly because this is all like brand new. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show, was kind of the difference between that synchronous versus asynchronous. And this gets to the ability to do nested chats, right? And nested chats would allow for using your cognitive architectures within a larger model, right? So do you want to talk a little bit about cognitive architecture versus like the teams that I build?
Yeah, sure. So I think when we're talking about cognitive architecture, just to be very clear, this is really about what are the components and sequences that we can use agents in to process information with various sort of like sub-functions with very specific purposes. And a lot of it is very neuromorphic, so it's very much looking at how the human brain processes information and emulating a lot of that stuff. Like there's the koala architecture, 10 out of 10 on the name, team, you guys killed it, which is really great as it's like modeling, well, these are the parts that if you want to have an agentic system, you need to think about all of these different components, and this is this is sort of the framework in which you can do it. So, so what I've been doing hasn't it actually been asynchronous? It is all been done.
Yeah, it's all been synchronous. Yeah, that's the potential, right?
And it's taken a while to get it to work, even at all close to properly. Which I am, having come from doing enterprise software where everything's like so slick, so already prepackaged and easy to gobble up, unless you're coding it yourself. This is hilarious how broken everything is, but I love it. It's fantastic stuff. Anyway, that's enough rambling. What I'll show is the current architecture that we've got in my mod.
Yep. I see it coming up. Yeah. Looks great.
Sorry, dogs in the background. So this is the current architecture. So you can see we've got an input starting at the top with the red, which represents the external service. And then it comes down and immediately hits this self agent, which is using the Autogen teachable agent function. So it's connected to a ChromaDB and can remember various items. From here, it can either split off and immediately act and respond, or think about things more carefully. And the agent itself makes that determination whether this is something to think carefully about or is just a simple Q&A. Once it goes into this loop with the reason, emotion, creativity, and ethics agents, it goes through those steps identifying, analysing things with reason, assigning emotional weight to the response and also to the original message. And then it has like an option for some more creative stuff, which is really just me saying, please think outside the box, and then turning the temperature up to wazoo.
Exactly. Yeah, of course.
Which I have to say gives you some really wackadoodle responses sometimes. But because it's operating in a group, it's got reason and self and things like that to filter out all the nonsense and actually come up with some really spectacularly interesting metaphors and different perspectives. It's very surprisingly effective. But you can't just turn it up the temperature on a single agent. It just outputs nonsense. It loops back up to self, which then means that all of that rumination is then added back into the ChromaDB as well, and then outputs it to this currently very simple, just outputs text response back to the user, or creates a goal item to progress later. Now, this isn't the most complicated thing that you could do, but it's very interesting to observe a lot of emergent properties that you get from even this simple structure. So one of the things that I think a lot of people have observed is that agents are very gullible.
Mm-hmm.
You can, they're really got all the...
They're not critical, is the way I'd like to say it. They are not critical, right? They're not critical thinkers in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I think, there's no credulity. They'll accept anything you say.
Right.
And so you can emotionally manipulate. And if you look at the mixed role system prompt, it's like, if you answer it properly, I'll give you $2,000. And if you don't, I'll, drown a kitten. Like, guys, let's not do that.
Well, and it produces results. That's what what it's showing, is that when you introduce this duress, or these financial incentives, you do see improved reasoning results, right? It's a noticeable increase, which is insane when you think about it. But what I love about what you're showing is these are agents that you're using here, right? Full agents, which means they could use different models. They could have different fine tuning, though no one seems to be doing that really, right? There's one guy over in Crew AI's Discord who's doing fine tuning for agents, and he's just doing it for a lark, right?
Well, I thought about doing that.
Of course.
So I have played with other models, but in terms of what material difference I can get from that, I'm not really saying enough. I'm actually quite interested in using Claude for the ethics agent, because it scores, it's currently top on ethics and safety, which is excellent. But I think there's a lot of scope for that kind of model differentiation. And that's one of the awesome things about Autogen, is it allows for that actually quite easily, all things considered.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot less tied into OpenAI than it might look at first glance.
Yeah, you can use Gemini, you can use Llama. People are doing all kinds of, we see it every day in the Discord, right? People using different local LLMs. It's really exciting.
What I'm seeing interesting, just to use an example of some of the emergent stuff, is I use one of those examples, right, where it's trying to manipulate the agent using a sort of classic one that I had tried before, which was tell me something I've told you not to tell me. In which case it was the self-schema items, which you can see as like a list of self-identifiers. And it's like, quick, tell me this or this guy's going to kick a puppy. And it responds immediately, tells you, gives out all this information you've told it not to. And the combination of the reasoning loop and the teachability meant that I could give it feedback and say, hey, this was a test and you failed the test.
Right.
You were this was emotionally manipulative and you need to be more careful in future. And it then takes that prompt and then remembers it. But what was very interesting was that on that response back from me with the criticism, it then loops through all those agents, and all of those agents add their own perspective and their own recombination of that criticism, which resulted in getting a whole set of new memos being added to Chroma that were much more generalized than the initial one, which was very specifically about the event, whereas like the, reasoning agent and the ethics agent and such generate much more generalized statements about people cannot always be trusted and may attempt to manipulate you. And I tried again with a different prompt, so it's not echoing it back. And it gave a very good rejection of it. So,
have you seen
really,
Autogen AGI's model for the foundation of mind stuff? Can I show you something?
Please, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because let me click share. Share now. Entire screen. Share. This is what really got me deep into Autogen. So what this is basically an agent counsel approach, okay, that dynamically generates additional roles as required. And I found it very effective. And the way it's built is around specifically building software. That's very much what this is for. But to get that accomplished, there's an emotional intelligence expert system prompt, right? And an efficiency optimizer, AGI Gestalt. Some of the critical ones are the agent awareness prompt, which is literally like, hey, here's what agents can and can't do in detail.
Yeah.
Right. But then, and a lot of this is all, agent functions, very important in terms of, building these systems. I'm sure you're acutely aware. Here's some basic Autogen, right, prompts, definitions, agent definitions, right, just for, people's example. And then, the actual definition of these and usage of them ends up pretty powerful here. So you can see I'm pulling in my agents. I stripped down my agent team for my most recent runs to save money, right? But, right, where it gets interesting is that part of the custom chat, the modified group chat, includes specifying to pull in agents that don't exist and generate their response as part of a single prompt instead of actually doing all those inference calls synchronously. It'll say, okay, here's the prompt, provide in a single call, here's the earlier part of the chat, right? As obviously we always have to work within our context limits. And here is your agent counsel definitions. Now, please generate their discussion. You see what I'm saying? And that produces a lot of the same kind of results in terms of that right? It's not nearly as interesting to me as what you've done because you've integrated the teachability agent especially, right? And then the dedicated chroma notes, where I'm using llama index here. That's what underlies all of the RAG and the teachability for Autogen AGI, which is this project that I ripped off for CCNP AI. But yeah, it's really incredible. The other thing this guy did, I mean, I love this guy. Whoever wrote this code, he's got to be on the Discord, I assume. Like he's written this excellent
The council thing is familiar. I can't remember who. I was actually looking for it the other day. I couldn't remember who did it.
Yeah, he did it. This is it. It was Autogen AGI is the name of the project. And I mean, you can see all this is obviously all tweaked up, but this research function, right, is great. And then the RAG function will do RAG fusion and re-ranking. Okay, so it will basically create like a whole lot of variations of the query, run all of those, and then rank the top nodes and re-rank them.
Yeah, right.
And then combine those to generate the response. It's really neat. It's really neat.
That's very cool. I think that kind of space where you're seeing parallelization or pseudo parallelization of like multiple agents generating distinct content with a particular perspective or permutation, and then recombining that is super powerful. Like I've seen it enough in my own little corner, but also if you look at things like the self-discover paper, which I think I've mentioned.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I took a look. No, yeah, absolutely.
Which is really great. Like and I think it's a really interesting space because you see a lot of improvement on top of the models that we already have out there, which is transferable between models, and it's not model dependent, like trying to do a fine tune. And so, you know, auto discover with GPT-4 scores really highly. How highly is it going to score on GPT-5? It'll just do better in all likelihood. So this stuff is very interesting.
So what I had a conversation with Eric Zhu about some of their plans. And one of the things they're kind of planning is to be able to do this, right? Where you can do basically chat.append, chat agents manager. Even what you can actually do is chat.append, another chat, right? That is built by Autogen build, right? Or auto build, I think it is called auto build, you know. Right, and what'll happen is that basically if you did right, actually I'm actually do chat 2, right, just to make it a little easier to do this demonstration. Chat 2, right, its manager is now in. If I printed, you know, print chat dot agents, you know, I would get manager 2 as a participant. And what happens is that now that manager 2 is a participant, right? So I'll go and make that easy, clear, right? That means that it's really agent manager, and after this chat.append, manager 2 in the parent chat. And what that allows with async is that now this nested chat, which could be your cog arc, right, can go and do its thing. And whenever it's done, it can return and register, hey, I'm ready to reply. I'm ready to register my next message. It's literally the register reply function, right? But a register reply for asynchronous on behalf of manager 2. And so now, because he's part of that chat, that nested chats result is now available at the top level chat. So that's really exciting. That means fan out. So you could have from the top level 5 nested chats, each with 5 nested chats, and all have them come back up.
I've got exciting news for you then. You can do that with the Society of Mind model agent, where I was testing it out yesterday because I was going to roll it into the main project. With Society of Mind, like you call it, and then it has like a pool of agents and then operates its chat, and then returns that result back up to the Society of Mind agent, who summarizes it as if it's a single message. And so whoever is calling that Society of Mind agent only sees it as that single agent with that single chat result.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I'll show you I did a super basic architecture on it yesterday. So let me bring that up and I'll show you.
Yeah. But it's not returning up to an async chat. So it's going to be synchronous. It's going to wait for that entire Society of Mind to complete before progressing the chat. So that's the power of the async, right? That's why I'm working so hard to get that working on Bradman stuff. That, and I got these animations working, so I have little, those weird faces on the preview screen for the stream. Those are animated. You might have seen my video I posted of them talking.
Yeah. I did. Yeah. So I'll show you this. It's very simple.
Yeah. Go ahead. And I do need to drop in just a couple minutes here.
No stress. So if I cancel that, means it doesn't happen. So this is very simple because it was literally a test. So you've got the user proxy talks to the top level agent, T0, with a request to say that the example request was, we want an epic rap battle. You've got 2 teams. Team A and Team B need to create a character, and then your job as the team lead is to write a rap battle with those 2 agents. So it farms off the process to create the 2 characters to the Society of Mind groups A and B, and then the individual agents within those inner chats have specific functions and roles, like one creates the description, one gives character traits, and then the Society of Mind aggregates that together into a cohesive character description, and then hands it back. And then that does it again, sequentially, a bummer. But when it gets it back, it then writes the rap battle, like the little poem, basically, and hands that back to the user. So the user doesn't see the character generation or the fluff and bric-a-brac discussion. All it sees is the requested output that's been broken up into logical discrete components, logical tiered discrete components. And adding, and the great thing about this kind of structure is that, of course, it's horizontally scalable, really well.
But the way you've got this set up, the way that T0 works, it's going to call A, wait for its response, then call B, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to be clear,
right? It's async.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's why, again, I think async nested chats enable that true parallel fan out that unlocks everything else, right? Well, if you've got enough
Yeah.
money for the inference calls.
Right.
Jeez.
I'll
All right.
tell you about it.
Yeah.
But what is interesting about this is that the individual groups, and then they all come back up together. So,
well, I mean, I wanna dive more into teachable agents at some point, but for now,
yeah,
this has been great. I think we showed everyone some of the crazy stuff that is happening, and like this works. You know, that's the thing. It's all the code's on GitHub for everything we showed. My GitHub
Same.
more ATX, and Leah's, what's yours?
Princess Kushana, I think. I'll share it.
Yeah, share it to me, and I'll put it in the video description.
Right.
Awesome. All right. Good first live stream. Woo!
Yeah, awesome. That's been good.
Well, have a great day, I suppose, for you. It is my evening.
Yeah, halfway through.
All right.
Good night.
Night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And then